So let's first of all just go through the front pages of the newspapers. Let's have a look at this first one in the Sunday Telegraph. China will use electric cars to spy on Britain. That's the first one. The Sunday Times. Iranian state now bigger threat to UK. That's from Suella Braverman, who's saying that Iran now is posing a threat to us from a terror point of view. The Observer, appalling state of warehouse jails revealed in shock data. That's an expose that the paper has done about jails and that they're not really fit for purpose. The Mail on Sunday this weekend goes with fat cat's cash in no cost of living squeeze. So that's about all of the big bosses of the energy firms making far too much money from us. Sabotage, says the Sunday Express, and they're carrying that interview with Suella Braverman. She's given it to the Mail on Sunday, but the Sunday Express are picking up on the fact that she's blaming Labour and Labour cronies for the lawyers who are stopping the boats at the moment and not allowing the government to get on with their Rwanda plans. And then we've got here, Harry Deal to film £3 million book. That does sound like a story about him bringing out another autobiography. I can reassure you it's not that. Apparently Harry and Meghan are going to bring a romance novel to life on film. And then we've got in the Sunday Mirror, Jamie, act now on free school meals. He's saying that children should have free school meals out of term time because if they're not poor enough, they need help in term time, then they also need it when they're on the holidays, basically. Now, I'm delighted to bring in my paper reviewer extraordinaire, my fellow GB News presenter, Nigel Nelson. Nigel, lovely to see you this morning. Let's talk about this Suella interview. She's in the Mail on Sunday. Everyone else has picked up on it across the whole of the newspapers, basically. And she's having a go at Labour. She's accusing Labour of sabotaging the government's Stop the Boats plan. What do you make of that, Nigel?
I think it's a way of actually shifting blame for her own failures. I mean, when you actually delve into the sort of small print there, it doesn't really stand up to scrutiny. They particularly focus in on a lawyer who works for Labour and also works for another organisation trying to stop the Rwanda plan going ahead. But this particular lawyer spends 90% of her time on a panel with Priti Patel on Windrush. So,
but hang on, Nigel, you've got to admit that there are people on the left that support these lawyers who are effectively trying to make any claim to come and live in the UK, an asylum claim. And it's not always the case. We had that Mail expose of those lawyers basically saying, oh, well, if you want to claim asylum, you've got to pretend to be persecuted by that person. Oh, your backstory doesn't stand up. Tell these lies, then you'll be able to get in. She's got a point, hasn't she? If you were Home Secretary, you'd be so frustrated by these people gaming the system.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got lawyers cheating, if you've got lawyers telling lies, which seems to be what is happening in that particular case, I think Suella Braverman is absolutely right that, first of all, they should be struck off, and secondly, if they've committed a criminal offence, they should be jailed, which is what she's saying this morning. So I think you need to park those people. I mean, this is actually crooked behaviour from people who are legitimately challenging government immigration policy, which is not working.
But isn't it right for her to suggest that in stopping that Jamaica flight from taking off, actually Keir Starmer did conspire in keeping a rapist and murderer in the country to go off and commit more crimes?
Well, I mean, if you start with flights like that, there are an awful lot of questions there about whether or not those are a good idea. Do you, for instance, deport people who have been in this country since they were children? They've grown up here. I mean, there were a load of questions to answer. I'm not saying that is right, but if you're a foreign criminal,
most people listening and watching this will go, yeah, can you please?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the general principle should be that foreign criminals should go home, and just because they're going to Jamaica, it's not racist. If they could round up a plane load of white Australians, they'd be sent back too.
Yeah, OK, fair enough. Look, we've got the Suella row, which is dominating the front pages, and then, of course, we've got more talk of net zero. I'm calling it net hero to net zero, because everyone's now abandoning their quest for net zero by 2050. It seems to me as if Starmer's in a confused place. Sunak is very much now saying, OK, let's put the brakes on this. Interesting interestingly echoing, of all people, Priti Patel on my show last week, who said, let's put a pause on this. It's making the poor poorer. Do you agree with that analysis, Nigel?
No, what I think has happened is they've all gone wobbly after Uxbridge.
Yes.
That suddenly Uxbridge comes along, bad by-election result, a weird by-election result, and they also, this whole net zero thing is a bit dodgy, perhaps we ought to bring our targets back. So what is interesting is you've got Therese Coffey now saying, hey, look, please, guys, hold your nerve, because this is really important.
Yeah, this is interesting from Therese. I mean, we know that she'd come from that position, right, because she's Environment Secretary. She needs to be on the side of the Greens in many respects. But then we've got some polling in the Sunday Express that suggests that, at least from the electorate's point of view, they're not happy with this. They're not happy to be told that they need to pay thousands to replace petrol and diesels with electrics, to replace boilers with heat pumps. So the public doesn't like net zero by 2050, does it?
Well, apparently they do. This is what's so weird about the public at the moment. So, for instance, if you look at at most polling, the 4 top issues that concern voters are cost of living comes number 1, NHS number 2, immigration number 3, and then climate change. So they do want something done about it. Trouble is, what they don't want is, if that's something that has to be done, is a pylon outside their front door, or suddenly they're paying the cost of ULEZ, for instance. That's where the problem lies. I think that we need now to convince people it will cost us all. If we really believe in net zero, if we believe in climate change, we need to do something about it pretty much now.
Would ULEZ be more acceptable to people if it was, say, a £5? I mean, the other suspicion around it is Sadiq Khan's policy is to plug an enormous black hole in his own finances, and that's the only reason why it's happening. You look at LTNs, low traffic neighbourhoods. Had Martin Townsend on here doing the papers last week. He was talking about 2 cameras in Chiswick that had made the council 13 million. So people are also sceptical about what are the motivations. Is it about air quality, or is it about filling Sadiq Khan's coffers?
Yeah, and I think that the way that Sadiq Khan should have approached it was, say, start at £2.50 and gradually build up to that £12.50 cost. It's a lot of money. I mean, the other thing at the moment is that he needs to extend his scrappage scheme, and he needs to pay for it outside London. It is not fair on a nurse who lives in, say, Kent or Essex, who works in a London hospital, having to then pay...
and probably, by the way, paying for parking when she's at the hospital. We all know about
that
parking
too.
charges.
And she won't be able to get a scrappage scheme at the moment. So
which makes no sense. And it's the same for electricians and plumbers. I mean, apparently they're being offered up to £9,500 to change vans, but they're probably already coping with fewer customers.
But only if they live in London. The whole point is that it's the people who border onto other counties who never voted for the London mayor or this policy who are being hit by it.
Got it. People outside that scrappage needs to be extended to them. I think that's also Angela Rayner's argument with regard to unaffordability. Let's move on to what I'm describing as trans hocus pocus. Tell me about what's happened now to J.K. Rowling.
Well, she's been cancelled again, and this time it's by the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle.
Right. And
they've got a Harry Potter exhibition, but what they've done is they removed any reference to J.K. Rowling from it. Now, goodness knows how you tell the story of Harry Potter without its creator, Joe Rowling. And I'm always against this. Look, I don't agree with Joanna Rowling about the whole trans issue. I think she's wrong, but she's...
Wrong that biological sex is immutable.
Yes.
OK. Are you in the women can have a penis camp then, Nigel?
Yes, I am.
Right,
and that, bear in mind, is the legal and official position in this country.
OK. I mean, I'm in the J.K. Rowling camp.
OK.
But at the same time, I agree with you. The Telegraph have done this story, and actually they've done a lot of work generally on kind of airbrushing history, changing Roald Dahl retrospectively. You can't write J.K. Rowling out of her own books.
No, that's right. And so she is an integral part of the Harry Potter story. You kind of a museum exhibition that doesn't include her.
No, it's
But
nonsense.
then she should not be cancelled full stop wherever she is, that she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, can we just stop cancelling people and just allow people to disagree, agree?
Free speech.
I mean, that's only what this entire channel is all about.
Exactly.
But if only the rest of the world would listen. I like that you've pointed out photo of the day is in the Mail on Sunday. Tell me about this. From 2022's scorched earth to 2023's green and pleasant land.
Yeah, I mean, this is a number of pictures around the place to see what has actually happened between...
Oh, there it is there. So you've got that picture of that fountain, and it's completely scorched last year. And then today it's lovely and green because we've had so much rain.
Exactly, and this is the kind of summer that we're having at the moment.
But then you were in Rhodes, so you've experienced scorched earth.
That we escaped Rhodes with minutes to spare before they closed the roads as the fires were coming towards us, and the temperatures were really hot. I mean,
but you could forgive people for thinking, well, we're not really experiencing high temperatures here.
No, we're not.
Is it right to say that we're all boiling alive?
Well, I think so. If you look at this is a global thing.
Yeah.
4 records have been broken this year. So we've had the hottest June on record.
Yeah.
We've had the hottest day on record. We've got sea ice in the Antarctic melting at record levels.
And the oceans apparently hotter than they've ever been, according to
And the oceans hotter than they've ever been. So at the moment, suddenly climate change, which seemed a long way off, is now on our doorstep and urgent.
Yeah.
OK, we're not seeing it this summer, but later on in August, who knows?
Who knows? Thank you very much, Nigel Nelson, for joining me this morning. Lovely to speak to you.